Our next speaker is Travis Williams. Travis has spent the last 25 years as CEO of the ODC Network. ODC is a nonprofit with a mission of advancing outdoor education and conservation in West Michigan. This started as just an idea of his, and now 25 years later, employs 200 people and serves another 200,000 each year. Some of his accomplishments include 2 Greenway projects, launching Project Clarity, establishing 5 nature-based preschools, launching corporate childcare programs, and starting an eco-tourism business. As a father and also as a fisherman, please join me in welcoming Travis Williams.
How do you follow a pastor? I feel like I've just been put in one of those uncomfortable moments, but I guess that's when we grow the best, right? So, and then I'm a control freak if you don't know me, and so I wanted a controller so I could flip through slides, and then they just told me that this clicker wasn't working. So now I don't have a clicker up here. So everything you just shared, Trent, about dealing with uncomfortableness and thriving in it, I'm going to try to show you my colors right now. So if we can go to that first slide, please. Our organization's been around 25 years, and it's been an incredible blessing to be part of that in this community and be able to do the work that I get to do in this community. And so when Eric approached me and said, "I'd love to have you talk at Truth at Work," I was like, okay, great. That was a while ago. Month or 2 goes by. Finally, we meet. I say, "Hey, what do you want me to talk about?" And he said, "Whatever you want." And I was like, all right, do you know how dangerous that is for Travis Williams to be told I can say whatever I want? They tried to give me a time frame, and they put a clock up here, and they started running and everything, and I'm just going to tell you I ignore all of that. I think I get all day to talk to you, so I'm going to lean into that heavy here. So if you want to click to the next slide, before I really get going, I do want to tell you a little bit about myself. My family, it all lives here in the area. It's kind of been here the whole time. I went to Hope College. I met my wife, Stephanie, there. We both have biology degrees from Hope. I left Hope College, ended up working for an environmental company for a hot minute. Hated it, sitting in a lab, getting to do reports and things. Went back, got a master's in education, taught for a year at Black River Public Schools, started a couple of the high school biology program classes. Didn't really like that. And ultimately, I ended up where I am today. And I'm going to get into that story a bit. Oh, see, they saw how desperate I was, and they gave it to me. So I got the opportunity to be at this organization I'm at now. And again, I'm going to dive into that here in a little bit. But I also want you to know that I have an amazing family. I have 3 children, biological children, and then one that we gladly inherited through my son getting married in August of 24. But you see my son Joshua there in the middle, 23 years old. He's our oldest. Next to him to the left is my daughter Cora. She's our youngest at 16. And then my daughter Megan, who's 21. And because I like to struggle, my kids like to see me struggle. My son married a Megan, spelled the same way. So there's 2 Megan Williamses in my family. And you would think that somebody who could be the CEO of an organization would learn how to enter 2 names into his phone and be able to differentiate between Megan Williams number 1 and number 2. But I have yet to figure that out. So that's who's speaking to you today. And I'll just give you my true colors from the stage. So Eric, again, does this work? There we go. So Eric again asked me to come in here and talk with you. And when I said to him, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, whatever you want. After a little more prodding, what I did get out of him was that he wanted me to talk about how ODC Network became an overnight success. But it only took 25 years. So that's going to be my message to you today. We struggled a lot early on, and I personally struggled a lot early on. Now, I am going to give you a little bit of my story because my story is heavily entwined in the ODC story. I've worked there for 25 years. I've actually worked there more than half my life, which is kind of a scary thing to think about. And so I've been involved in this organization since I was 24 years old. And it has been a humbling thing for me, but I want to, just as Trent just spoke, I felt like he was speaking to me. Because I've struggled a lot in my life personally, and the ODC journey has been one of pretty significant struggle. And I want to share a bit of that, And I hope that there's something that you can take away from it. Because what I have learned through that whole process is that when you're struggling, you're actually learning about opportunities. Because challenges are really opportunities. They're opportunities to grow. When we're the most uncomfortable is when we grow the most. And so that's really what I'm going to speak to you about today. So we're going to do a little time jump back. 1989, Travis Williams is in 8th grade. You can do the math and try to figure out how old I am here. I'll see if you can get it by the end. So in 8th grade, and in 8th grade, when they started doing all this, what do you want to be when you get older? And they make you take tests, and they kind of like try to figure out the aptitude of what you're going to do. Mine always came back saying you should be a zookeeper or you should be a conservation officer. And I thought I am in the right spot because my hero was a guy named Marty Stauffer. He actually was Wild America. And if you can write in cursive, you probably know who he is. If you can't, you probably don't. All right? So Marty Stauffer was my hero, was Wild America, Sunday evenings, always on TVs in Yellowstone, Alaska, and all over the place looking at wildlife. That's what I wanted to do. And so that was like my calling right at that moment. I thought, that's what I want to do. I'm in 8th grade. Flash forward to 1994. I'm graduating high school. And of course, what does everybody ask high schoolers? What do you want to do? What are you going to go to college for? Okay, I was still saying to people, I wanted to be a biologist. I wanted to work in the outdoors. Except at that point, I had transitioned to telling people I was going to run Travis Land. Now, you laugh, but I seriously was going to run Travis Land. That was my goal. I wanted to run Travis Land. And I said that out loud right here for the first time probably in my life, and that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. But my goal was to run some kind of nature-based organization. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying to you. I honestly wanted to do that. But I also want you to know that I struggled a lot at that point in time. By the end of my high school career, I was a C student at best. Not because I didn't try, but because it just didn't work for me. And I struggled and I struggled and I struggled. So personally, my life's been full of struggle, just like Trent shared with you, not the worst thing in the world. A C is average. I can live with that, right? But I had struggles in my life. So then we flash forward to 1999. So now I've graduated Hope College. I've had a job as an environmental toxicologist. Didn't like it. I got a job teaching. Not so great. I still was looking for Travis Land. All right? So then the struggles that I was having at those moments was that I didn't know what I wanted to do. What was I going to do that was going to bring meaning and purpose to both my life and to the community I lived in? That was something that was really heavy on me at that point in my life because I knew what I wanted, but I had no way of getting it. Because if you aren't really aware, there aren't a lot of Travis Lands around to run. That's not a real common thing. How was I going to do it? And I was here in Holland, Michigan. What was the opportunity here? So that was a struggle for me, and it was something that I was dealing with a lot at that point in time. But then an opportunity came to me. I was actually in Hamilton with a college friend who was a phys ed teacher, and we were playing basketball one evening with a bunch of people, and somebody in the room was telling me about how they were on an organizational board in Holland, and this organization was going to start a wildlife education center. And they were posting a job, and they ended up hearing a little bit about my background and said, you ought to apply for it. And I thought, oh my gosh, somebody heard about Travis Land. The opportunity may be coming to me. In a flash forward, move along quick, after a lot of interviewing, I landed the job. I ended up in an organization that I knew nothing about. In a quick history, it was a Ducks Unlimited chapter before 1983. It was the largest grossing fundraising Ducks Unlimited chapter in North America, here in Holland. And all the guys that were running it, and there were a bunch of CEO-like guys running it, they didn't like that the national office took most of the money you raised to spend on their things. Go figure, in Holland, Michigan, people didn't like it when somebody told them what to do with their money. So they started their own organization called Wildlife Unlimited of Allegan and Ottawa Counties. And they kept the money here doing projects, and after a while decided they should create some kind of an organization. That's what I had applied to. Thankfully, they partnered with the Ottawa Area ISD to eventually create what was known as Outdoor Discovery Center. And that was in the year 2000. So in 2000, I drove in to this facility and parked my car. And this is about a year after I started working there. Had the best lawn in town. Golf courses were drooling over it. Watered it, drained ponds to keep it green. Penned up elk and pheasant and deer. Plans to put skeet shooting ranges and gun ranges in next to walking trails. All these great ideas. And I walked into that job. And I pulled my car up. I was 24 years old. I sat in front of this building, which was the only building on the property, and I had to start to figure out what to do. What do you do? How do you create an organization? You're 24. I've never worked for a nonprofit. I don't even know what a nonprofit is, if I'm being honest with you. I've never raised money a day in my life. But yet I just walked into this with a rather dysfunctional group of high-powered individuals that had a lot of opinions, and a young kid who had a dream to build Travis Land. And that's where my life started, and that's where ODC started. And I think it's important for you to have a bit of that context, because what do you do? I like to share a lot of my staff kind of refer to them as the Travisisms, but this is what you do. You live where your feet are. You show up each day and do what you can with what you got to get to the next day. And that's what I did, because I didn't have a phone, a desk, a pencil, a computer. I had nothing that first day. I literally mean that. It was at zero. And what do? You just keep showing up. And I encourage all of you, no matter where you're at, just keep showing up. Live where you're at, because yesterday's done and tomorrow's not here yet, but you can do something right now. And that's what I tried to do every day that I've worked at ODC. And after 5 years, it started to look like this. I know it's fancy. Don't get out of your seat. This is just what it looked like. We had a tent because we couldn't afford a pavilion, so we bought a used party tent and used that. My office was in a portable. The bathrooms were in the building next door. I had to walk outside to use the bathroom. But that's what we had. And quite frankly, this was amazing compared to when I worked out of the basement of a house. You show up every day and live with your feet are at. Now, Wildlife Unlimited, in this time period, was changing. They had been with us for a while, right? They've been doing this work. ODC started to grow. That organization decided one spring day in 2005 that they didn't want to exist anymore. Now, Wildlife Unlimited would raise money every year in a fundraising event and give it to ODC to help it operate. And the ISD was giving us money to help operate and do field trips to schools, and that was more than half our budget. Wildlife Unlimited decided we don't want to do this anymore. We're done. ODC, you can run with it. And then about a month later, I got a letter from the superintendent at the Ottawa ISD saying, due to budget constraints, we're no longer going to be able to fund ODC. So in a matter of a month, at this point I was maybe 30 years old, and I sort of had an idea of what I was supposed to be doing. I realized that half of my funding was gone. And how do you move forward from that? And so this is where the journey of ODC and where I transition a bit from talking about where I come from and then from the me to the we. Because that's where the real power in this story is. So in 2005, I learned that we were going to have to figure out how to operate on our own. And so the challenge became an opportunity for me. And so what we did was we actually were able to have a merger happened. 5 years, we struggled up and down, we were growing. I'm jumping ahead here. You're welcome to my chaos. We're moving forward. It's up and it's down. There are times I had to call donors twice in my life and say, if you could please write a check for me today, because if you don't, no one's going to get paid. That happened. I lived it. It was up and down and up and down. For every good thing that happened, it felt like there was a bad thing that followed it. But that's really the life of running a business, right? It's not all that easy. Trent, again, I feel like you were just talking about me when you were standing up there because I feel what you were sharing. But it's in those moments when the pain that you're feeling now is greater than the pain of where you're trying to go, you move. And so we just keep moving. And so in 2009, there's an organization called the Macataw Greenway Partnership. They wanted to partner with ODC, and we'd been kind of through this courting dance with them, and we decided that we would merge these two organizations together. They wanted some leadership from us and programming and some of our resources, and at the same time, they wanted to, or we could benefit from having their land. So we merged with that organization. And our organization over the next few years took more jumps forward. More crazy name changes. Because we were Outdoor Discovery Center Wildlife Unlimited now, because Wildlife Unlimited went away, and we felt like we had to add their name to it, and then we turned into the Outdoor Discovery Center Macataw Greenway, because we went through this merger. But then it started to level in 2018. In 2018, things were getting better. The organization was in a better spot. All of the work that we were doing was starting to become more of a known thing in our community, because that's a hard part about being a nonprofit, is just getting yourself into the known sector with people. And so in 2018, we just switched our logo to just being that frog, a magnifying glass. We changed our name to ODC Network because we wanted to be known for the network of things we were doing, because at that time we had Greenways, we had Project Clarity, we had a preschool operating, we had a nature center. We were more than just one of those things. And we wanted to try to rebrand ourselves as something that was more robust in the community. And so that's what we did in 2018. And this is what that journey looks like if you put it on a timeline. And what I really want to point out to you is that first chunk there. You see all the brands that ODC owns, and I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute, but we've created 14 different brands that we operate under our umbrella now to do the work of ODC. But there's this gap between that first one, an Outdoor Discovery Center, and when you see the Greenway and others come on. That time period is the time period when you're just trying to convince people that you're worth something, that you're worth supporting. Because when you're a nonprofit, what you're always trying to do is convince people that you add value to the community, that you're worth investing in. It's a difficult position to be in. It's one that I take great pride of doing, but showing people that you're actually adding value, right? All of our businesses have to do that. We have to show our customers that we add value. And when you have nothing, it's really hard to show people that you're valuable. But eventually you start growing. And the real power in that growth is that as you add people. And so I want to share a bit about that. So as we grew, you can click through the next couple slides here, but you can see ODC grew, and we became something more substantial in our community. And today, we have started to preserve over 1,000 acres of land that we own now in our community. We started with 100. And we are now have a footprint that is extremely large, and we have a big team, and we have a $20 million operating budget. Click the next slide. And this is the one that's really interesting to me. There's numbers across the bottom. Those are the number of employees we have. So when we started, we had one, and you can see as those brands come on, we've added people and we've added people. But the power of this message here is not that we have a lot of employees. The power of the message here is that when you surround yourself with people who are more talented than you are, who are more skilled than you are, who are smarter than you are, you can move places. And that's what ODC Network has done. So over the last 25 years, our team has grown significantly, but the better part of it is the talent that we have has grown significantly. And so when you start thinking about how you grow an organization and how you lean into an organization, you can advance the slide. There are three things that I want to focus on, and you've heard me say some of it, but vision, culture, and communication. Now, communication is embedded in my message across everything I'm saying, so you're not going to hear me talk a lot about communication. But if you don't communicate well with your people, if you don't tell them where you're going, if they don't understand how they fit into it, and you're not giving them the vision and the culture verbally, if you're not acting it out, if you're not sharing it and showing it and being an example in it, you're going to fail. So for us, communication is paramount, but it's also embedded in everything that we do. But the other two key parts is your vision and your culture. In our organization, and the success that we've had has been largely built around those two things. You can advance the slide. Dana, you saw one on your seat. You see these vision maps. Dana Beal makes these. Dana's great. He's helped us make ours. I have a master's in strategic management, one of the many degrees I got way back when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I've always been a big believer in strategic planning. ODC has always had a pretty in-depth strategic plan, guiding documents, things that help us map out where we're going. But working with Dana and trying to get all of that into a one-page document is one of the best things our organization has done. Because this is one of the best ways we can communicate to our people, both internally and externally, about who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're going, and putting it on one page. So ODC Network has taken the time to do this. Now, I'm not going to read through all the things that are on there. I just want you to see that we have it. But if you'll flip to the next slide, this is where the real power in this graphic comes in. This circle is the best way I can represent our entire organization. And when your people can understand who you are in a clear and concise way, it makes it really easy to thrive. And when you look at this graphic, you'll see in the center our mission statement of advancing outdoor education and conservation in West Michigan. Every one of our employees should be able to say that. It has to be a clear and concise statement that people can follow. And you'll see in the green circle, learn, conserve, explore. Those are kind of the things that we're doing, how we deliver. And then you see the brands, all 14 of them that we've created, that all generate revenue and help drive our system forward, our mission forward, and the impact that we're having. One of the most important parts of this is the blue circle. The blue circle where you see pioneering nature-based education, providing outdoor access, and protecting, conserving natural ecosystems. Those are the three things that ODC does. So as big as we may look to you, and all these brands and everything that's there, those are the three things we do. The stool for ODC, the three legs of it. And then you see on the outside that white area, that area that's around the graphic, that's our community. And there's sets of words on the outside that say, connecting people, land, and nature, and building a better community, because that's why we do it. We don't do this for us. We don't do it for ODC. We do it for the community. We've been tasked. People donate to us to make our community a better place. And if our team can have their eye on that, and they can see where we're trying to go, and yet understand where we're at and what we're going to do to get there, that's what drives the ship forward. So if you flip the slide, you'll see there's the three legs of the stool are here in more of a circular pattern. If we are able to show our employees how we feel about them, if we're able to have our team understand that the conservation, the education, and the access is what their job is, and that's what they're going to do for our community, is provide those things. And they all have to happen together. So ODC needs to be conserving and protecting. They need to be educating people about it, and we need to give people access to it. If you take one of those out, the whole thing falls apart. If people don't have access to the outdoors, how do we educate them about it? Right? And if people don't get educated, why are they going to preserve and protect it? All those things connect together. So you can flip to the next slide. So that's our clear, what we provide to our team. Now, I'm not interested in perfection. I want you to hear me say that. ODC is not interested in perfection. Many people go after that. Many people like to gather data and use it like a hammer. I like to use it like a flashlight. We aren't trying to be perfect. We're trying to make progress. And when we look at what we do, we want to solve problems. We want to fill gaps. And my really good friend, Dick Hayworth, always says to me, every time we end a conversation, he says to me, I like what you're doing, Travis. Keep doing it. I'm in the business of giving our community an unfair competitive advantage. And I would hope that every one of you joins me in that. Because if our community has an unfair competitive advantage, we will be the best community. And that's what we're here to do. And that's what my team is here to do. And I want them focused on that. And we don't get that unless we have progress. And so we have to get things done and we have to move. Remember I said earlier, when the pain of where you're at is greater than where you're trying to go, you're going to move. And that's what we want to constantly be doing, is moving. We want progress. If you can flip the slide. So getting things done. I'm just going to give you a couple examples here. I'm going to stay in one lane of ODC because I could talk for 2 hours about this. But if we just look at education, that is the most important thing for us. Education has been where we started. And so when we look at that, if you can click the slide, we have this purposeful impact mission within our education, and mostly because we want to have it serving our greatest asset, which is people, in particular kids. So if you look at ODC's journey, when I started, the first year I was there, it was one employee. We had 2,500 people engaged with us in programs and activities. Last year, we had 105,000 people participate in programs and activities with our team. That doesn't account for the over 100,000 people that just visit the properties that we own. So our organization has grown to serving now over 200,000 people a year. And quite honestly, it could be more because we can't even count who's all at all the different places all the time. And you can see on the map the intensity of where we're serving our community. And this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like when you show up and do that work in our community. You can flip through these. And our team has been doing this and has been showing up boldly out there, providing experiences. To the point of now, we've had over 1.5 million people participate in programs with the ODC. But this was the groundwork that led to the next level of what we do. There was a vision that we had for actually taking our programming and doing even more with it, going deeper. And so we started a program called the ODC Education Network in 2016, and we wanted to go about reimagining how education could be done. And through collaborative efforts, doing things with schools, not to them, partnering with schools, not telling them what to do, we began to look at how we could change where learning happens. We could transform the methods of learning, and we could start to build more meaningful relationships between kids and adults in our community. And that work has been at the cornerstone of what we do, and it's shown up in a lot of different ways. So as we look at how do we transform the way education looks, we started looking at how can we change the way educational spaces look. And we started to build outdoor classrooms, and we started to build outdoor playgrounds and started to transform the way that looks. 37 schools have had us come in now and transform the way their outdoor environments look and begin to get their children to go outside more, because we know that when the children are outside, their brains are fully activated and actually learning happens when there's better engagement. It's simple. But our team started to show up this way. You can flip to the next slide. And the real power has come in is now we have 40 schools that have contracts with us that have ODC embedded in their school in some way. 20,000 students since 2016. And some of the measures that you're seeing us pull out of this is data from these schools. Those that are working with us are seeing a 60% decrease in behavior issues within the school. 80% improvement in attendance. 27% higher reading scores. 2,600 more steps a day in kids that are in the outdoor-based programming. This isn't rocket science. When kids are engaged, they behave better. When kids are engaged, they're activated for learning. When kids are activated for learning and they're engaged, it's easier on the teacher. The teacher's happier. When the teacher's happier, they are doing a better job. It's a cycle, and it works, and it doesn't actually take a lot more money to be injected into it. This is how we started showing up. But the interesting thing is this work was actually spurred on by the next thing, which was how we were showing up in our early childhood space. Can you advance the slide, please? So there was a wave of opportunity here. We started a first preschool in 2013, and that preschool ended up with 200 people on the waiting list after the first year. It was out of control. We were trying to figure out how to manage it. We had built something that was maybe an overnight success in a way. The demand on it was high. And so we have 4 nature-based preschools that we own and operate right now, about to start a 5th, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But when we built those preschools, the pressure from the parents leaving these schools and going into the system, whether it's public or private, and having their children go right back into the toes and rows under the fluorescent lights inside a building with screens, all of a sudden wasn't working for them again. And it started to show up boldly as we were transforming the way people in the community were thinking about it. And so that is what this early childhood program has done. You flip to the next slide. And now we have grown in this network. So we have 4. We're about to start the 5th. I'm going to talk about Gentex Discovery Preschool in a second. But if you look at that map, the green shows you where people are driving from to reach one of our schools. So as we use data like this to just kind of evaluate the impact we're having and the reach that we're having, we can see that what we're doing is having an impact. 500 kids are now enrolled in the schools that we've started. So I would like to flip to the next slide here. Out of that, I just want you to know, too, a big part of our goal has been we want anybody who wants to get into one of these schools to be able to do it. It's not just for people who can pay for it. We want anybody. So if you sign up and you register and you get in, it doesn't matter if you can afford it or not. We've been able to figure out ways to have everybody be a part of it. $3 million of tuition assistance has gone into these schools over the last 10 years. So if you flip the slide. So now I would actually like to show you a video, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more.
The Gentex Discovery Preschool really is a one-of-a-kind, outdoor-based learning environment for kids from 6 weeks old through 5 years old up until they go to kindergarten. And it's housed on our main campus here in Zeeland, right next to one of our large manufacturing facilities.
This project is really unique because our goal here with Gentex Discovery Preschool is actually to try to operate in 2 shifts. We want to try to serve both first and second shift employees. What the facility will look like is going to be 5 different pods, kind of serving each of the age levels 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. And then each of those pods will have its own outdoor play and learn space.
We are working families that work at Gentex, and finding daycare in this area is a challenge. And having an on-site preschool daycare is so wonderful. It is one less thing taken off your shoulders as a working parent. It definitely makes me feel seen as an employee. It makes me feel like family life does matter to Gentex.
Our community is very largely based with Gentex employees locally. And so for them to have a place that's convenient, close to where they work, reliable, and then also a place where they can trust that their child is being taken care of well while they're gone is going to have a larger impact, I think, than anybody anticipates. Buckling down and saying we want to do this for our employees has been a real inspiration, I think, to a lot of families within our Gentex system.
That was very exciting to hear that Gentex was going to offer daycare for second shift employees, allowing them to get the level of care that ODC provides for your kids, and also that outdoor environment. While it's still light out, it's a daycare you can trust. You can trust the staff. You can trust that your kids are well taken care of.
The great thing about nature-based education is it can affect a lot of different developmental components to a child's life. So we hear that kids are far more regulated, that they can control their behavior better. We hear that kids are way better at interacting with their peers and playing and sharing. We also hear that kids they sleep better at night because they're active during the day. And I think that's what really helps the brain grow. And that's why outdoor ed is so great. There is nothing more rewarding that I've probably done in my career than to be able to say that I've been part of this project. This is what leadership looks like.
I'm really pumped for everybody that's going to be able to be a part of it. I hope that it expands beyond just our walls, and that people start to see the benefit of it as they go through from being an infant to a toddler to a kindergartner. So that's what I'm really hopeful for.
Our goal with this was to show up boldly. Kevin Nash, who is on the screen there, CFO at Gentex, he and I started talking one day, and he's on my board actually, and he was like, hey, we're wondering, do you think we could do this at Gentex? And I said yes, because taking a risk and moving fast seemed like the right thing to do, and Kevin's like, let's do it. And we were able to catalyze this opportunity to make that happen. And this facility, if you flip the slide, or I guess you already did maybe, it is now ready to open this month, and we're really excited that we will probably be the first employer-based, nature-based program with 2 shifts, and we can maybe change the way people view the early years of kids, and that's so important. And so, yeah, we were an overnight success, but it only took 25 years. And the reason that we were able to do it is what you see on the screen. So you can see, I know you can't read that and tell what it is, but out of our HR software, I downloaded our staff tree. We have 250 people on our team today. And those are the people that are leaning in and making this happen. And if you'll flip the slide, the point of all of this to you would be is that people are your greatest asset, without question. They're what makes things go. And if you invest and care for your people, this is how we view it at ODC Network. If you invest and care for your people, and how does that look for us? It looks a lot of different ways. We pay as the highest percentile we can in pay. We provide benefits. We provide childcare to our employees. We lean in every way we possibly can with our team. And if we take care of them well, they in turn will show up full of joy, and they will do their jobs well, and they will provide really good customer service to the people we're serving. And when they provide good service to the people we serve, those people that are being served will appreciate it and most likely support the organization. And it's a cycle. And that's super important. It goes right down to that for us. We start with people. We would not be where we are as an organization today if it wasn't for the people that we have on our team. You can flip the slide. So one of the ways we manage this at ODC, so remember I said vision, and you've seen a lot of the vision pieces from me, is culture is the other big piece. And remember communication, embedding that through. So culture, we actually have a culture deck. This is just the front page of it. It's too much to try to get into in this moment. But we have an entire deck that explains all of our mission, vision, values, how we expect people to show up every day, how we expect them to treat customers, how we expect our leadership to treat our people and our people to treat our leadership and their role in that. We created that so that everybody could be on the same page. And we talk about it all the time. Because there's some stats out there that say that people need to hear things at least 7 times before it sticks. That's true. 7 times minimum. You can't just build something, say it once, and walk away and think it's going to be taken care of. I wish it was that easy, but that's not how it works. So we live into it. And our values are at the front of everything. And I'm just going to read the statement at the top for you because it's really important. But we don't just believe in these values, we live by them. Compromising them is mortgaging our future. We recruit, we reward, and we release people based on these values. So we have great expectation that our teammates are going to operate collaboratively and be community focused. They're going to be adaptive and open to change. This is tough for a lot of people because the world around us is changing. Tomorrow's going to be a different day than today. And if you think you can stay where you're at and somehow stay in the race, you're not gonna. We got to keep moving. We got to be entrepreneurial. And I define that as a person or a group of people that is willing to take risks in order to capitalize on opportunities to meet your goals. You got to be a risk taker. I'm not saying do crazy stuff, but you got to be willing to take risks. Everything I've told you about, including starting an early childhood center with Gentex, that's going to have 50 more employees of ours at it, and growing towards 100 probably, serving up to 500 children, that's a big thing. It's a risk, but if it makes our community better, it's worth trying. We got to be action-oriented. I love to say to my staff, fail fast. Now again, I'm not saying I want them all to go out and fail, but fail fast. If it doesn't work, pivot and try something else. Because guess what? It's not going to work at some point. And that can't be what knocks you down. We want to focus on quality, be strategic, be relational, not transactional. Build relationships. That's where it starts, right? And so our team lives by these things. And we want everybody to be a leader. We want everybody to see themselves in the places that we're at because we believe that everybody belongs in the outdoors and we believe everybody can be on our team. But they have to adopt our values. And then that last statement up there is the one that I've kind of already said it, but I live by it. My team probably hears me say it more than they like. And that's learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because it's in those uncomfortable moments that you are challenged and you become sharper and you grow and you become better. It happens when you're a little stressed. And stress is okay. There's no such thing as a stress-free world. Grow in those moments. And you do that when you work as a team and you believe in values and people can adopt it and they can know that they're not in it alone. If you can advance the slide. So this is more of a summary, but these are the rules we tell our staff we live by. We're going to be strategic. We're going to be entrepreneurial. We're going to fail fast and take risks. Here's one I haven't said a lot, but being transparent. Because if people don't know what's going on and they don't know where they're going, it's really hard for them to lock in. And there's a lot of leaders out there that like to hold it all right here, that like to have their meetings in this closed door room and not communicate well. This is where the communication comes in. Be transparent. If you believe in something, then why shouldn't you share it with the people that are around you? Because if you want your team to move with you, you need to be transparent with them. And ODC believes in that. And we live where our feet are. And then the last piece up there is making sure our team members are in the right seat on the bus. We're not afraid to move people to the right seat. And sometimes you have to exit people. There's a little story that I'll share really quick, and that's that when you go to get on an airplane, somebody will come on the speaker while you're sitting there waiting to leave, and they'll tell you that flight 2562 to Seattle, you're on flight 2562 to Seattle, and they often will say, if you're not going to Seattle, here's your chance to get off. If someone's not on the right seat on the bus, you have a chance to get off. And if you communicate and they understand that they have a chance to get off, that's the most successful way to exit a person. That's the most successful way to make sure people know where you're going. And guess what? There's always people on standby. There's always somebody to take that seat. You can advance the slide. So, last couple slides here, I just want you to see that we do this work by trying to be transparent. So this, you can't read this probably, and that's fine. But this is our filter. We created a filter to show our staff how to make decisions and to empower them. Mission statement at the top, the various business divisions at the next level. Underneath that are all the things that we're doing, and then some strategic language underneath that. And if you dump an idea in the top and it can rattle its way all the way through the bottom, then it's probably something we're willing to look at. But if it doesn't fit, if it doesn't pass the sniff test on the mission statement, we shouldn't be talking about it. We like to give tools like this to our staff. It's how we show up transparently and communicate. Next slide. And all of this to be said, ODC Network, when we started, remember I told you, almost lost all of our money in one moment. We now, through what we have built, generate 77% of our $20 million budget through those business divisions. And only 23% of it we have to rely on philanthropy. We learn tough lessons. We learn when we're struggling that there's a different path if we want to take it, and it comes with a lot of hard work, but that's what we've done. You can flip the slide. So ODC Network looks like this today. We have this diverse set of business divisions. We've got a team of 250 people leading this through in our community, and I will tell you again, it's the people that are making it happen. It's not Travis Williams. I'm not the smartest person on our group. I'm not the most talented. There are a lot of really talented people I surround myself with. It allows me to stand up here. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here and this wouldn't be happening. Flip the slide, please. So, in conclusion, today that audacious middle school dream turned out to be my calling to serve. I actually didn't realize that. I thought at the time my struggle was me trying to figure out what I wanted. What I wasn't listening to was that I was being called to do something. And this job is what I was called to do. This has been my life's work because it helps me make our community a better place. And in the end, I do believe that God called me to be here to do this work for our community. And that's what drives me now every single day. Last slide. So Eric always says on his materials, one person can make a difference, and leadership matters. That's absolutely true. One person can make a difference. Leadership does matter. And if you can empower your people to believe this and then work together as a team, you can change the world. And that's really what leadership is about. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Travis, that was incredible. My face hurts from smiling and my neck hurts from nodding, so I really hope I don't have to smile or nod anymore today. I'm a bit of a culture nerd. I really get interested in that from an organizational perspective, and that's just fantastic, the journey that you shared with us. That's hard to do. Especially here in West Michigan. I'm not from West Michigan. You can tell by two things. One, my nationally average 5'9" stature. But two, you can tell I'm not from West Michigan because the whole entrepreneurial spirit terrifies me. I was complaining about that just this morning. Y'all are nuts. That journey is hard and it's terrifying. That aspect of God, that ex nihilo, creating something from nothing, that's challenging. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, that's really humbling. The journey from one person to 2 to 4 to 10 to 247, that 25-year-long overnight success. Maintaining that singularity of vision and of values and of culture is wildly impressive, and it's wildly rare. And Travis, you said it's not rocket science, but for a lot of us, it feels like it. Whether you have been in charge of your business for 20 years, 40 years, whether you're just thinking about starting one, whether you're just getting into your career and learning what it means to be a leader, that is terrifying to set and maintain that culture. But that is how God calls us. That's how God equips us. And I think we're often tempted to feel like, well, that's a Travis thing, right? That people like Travis, you are specially gifted. If God wanted someone else in your position, he would have put someone else in your position. If God had wanted you equipped differently, if you needed to be equipped more or better or longer, God would have done that. Live where your feet are. That's what Travis encouraged us. God put you in a very specific place, equipped you with a very specific purpose, and that singularity of vision, that cultural importance, you can live out no matter what your role is in your organization. So thank you so much for that reminder.